I hope you all are excited to be here. I know I'm excited, and I know that our guest of honor tonight probably hopes that I do this quick and fast. But Peggy, this is one time that I get to be in control and you don't because we're here to celebrate you. So sit back, buckle up, relax, and you can get me afterwards when we meet for dinner. Thank you all for joining. Tonight is such a monumental celebration as we honor Peggy's 30 years of service at Monarch. Um, I can't tell you how excited I am to be here after a lot, not a little, of arm twisting to get Peggy to agree to allow us to celebrate her. Such a humble person, as you guys all know, didn't want this to be about her. She wanted it to continue to be about everybody else and about the people we support and our staff. But tonight, we're here because 30 years of work is absolutely worth celebrating. You might wonder, well, why are we doing this virtually? We chose to do this virtually because when we sat down and we really looked at it, there were so many people from so far away and near, and maybe not so far and not so near, that we thought, how do we get everybody together and give them all a chance to celebrate the work that Peggy has done and the influence she's had on our lives and the coaching and the mentoring? And we thought virtually would be the best way to do it. So we invite you tonight to join us for the next 30 minutes virtually to celebrate Peggy. This evening, you're going to have a chance to hear from several people who have pretty unique perspectives about Peggy's impact on Monarch in our community. And many of them have known her from the very beginning, or really maybe even before the beginning at Monarch. Dave has known Peggy for a number of years, and Dave has known the impact that Peggy has made on many people in various different ways. Dave Richard was the executive director of the ARC of North Carolina, and most recently served as North Carolina Medicaid's Deputy Secretary for Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. And I can't tell you enough what Dave does for our state and what he means to our state, but I also can't tell you enough, I think, what Peggy means to Dave. And I'm going to invite him to talk to you about his perspective of Peggy and her impact on Monarch, but even greater, her impact on North Carolina and the industry that we support and we serve. Dave?
Good afternoon. Good evening, I guess it is, right? Yeah. So, Peggy, I can't believe it's 30 years. I don't think you're that old. I don't think I'm that old. And if we are, Jim Kelly's older than us, right? That's how we ought to look at it. Yeah. I think that's the part of it. It is like it's such an honor. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys inviting me to say a few words, and I'll try to keep it at that, a few words, because it could go on and on and on. I was this afternoon rewriting remarks, and then decided, you just can't write this down. You just have to talk from the heart. So that's what I'm going to try to do, Peggy, in this. So I have to say, I first met Peggy when Penny and the board decided to hire her as the executive director of the ARC in Stanley County. And my first thought was, that's not a Southern accent that she has. I don't understand this. But what I've quickly figured out is that it was this incredible hire that the ARC in Stanley County, and I have to give great credit for that board, wasn't going to settle. They were going to find somebody that was going to be the best person they could find to lead the organization. And thank goodness they found you, Peggy. It was, again, an amazing hire, incredible thing that they did. I will say that after realizing that Southern accent wasn't important, I knew that Peggy was a real deal. She understood what had to happen in the state. She understood, frankly, a vision that most of us, and I'll include me in that, didn't have for what an organization could be. What I like to think about, I was thinking about the right words. A vision was bold. I think of it as that, she thought that the ARC should be a powerhouse organization, one that serves with the highest quality for people that they serve, but most importantly, with integrity and how you do the work, and to think about going beyond the boundaries of the 3 counties that you were serving at that time. And I think even more importantly, to think about all people with disabilities, not just those with IDD, but all people with disabilities, and to become that organization. And oh my, have you become that organization? I think of Monarch, I think everybody in the state thinks of Monarch as the premier organization that serves people with disabilities. You guys have forged a path that is different than most organizations have, and continues to be that. And I know you've got incredible staff, you've got incredible board, incredible people, but you have a leader that has set that vision and continues to set that vision as going forward. I was thinking about all the words you could say about what Peggy is, right? She's driven, she's brilliant, she's got this way of talking to people to convince them. I can say when I was at the Arc of North Carolina, I think most of the time we agreed. And when I was at the state, most of the time we agreed. But the times we disagreed, we had the ability to actually come to a conclusion that was the right one, right? It wasn't one in which you fought. I'll also say is that I was smart enough to realize is that if it was going to be a fight, I was going to lose. So I always gave in to Peggy because she is so freaking smart and she had those things right. So Peggy, I will say that maybe there was one argument I won at some point in time during that period of time, but we always came, I think, to the right conclusion because Peggy drove it that way. All those things about being brilliant, being driven, being the kind of leader that she is, but it pales into comparison to her caring for people. And this is where I might get choked up. What I know is that every decision that Peggy has made in her role at Monarch was either to make sure that the people you served got the best that they could, that you made sure that people were treated with the respect and dignity that they needed, that they continued to thrive. It wasn't just enough to say you serve, but they thrived. And that's your passion and commitment. And then I have to say this, is that it goes beyond just Peggy's professional life. Her commitment to causes outside of professional life. And I think about you and Bob and your commitment to foster children that has been there from the beginning. First of all, I have no idea how you'll have the time to do the work that you do, but it is because you care. And that's the thing that is the most important thing. And so I will say, I said in the beginning, it's an honor to be able to say a few words here. But the truth is, Peggy, it's been an incredible honor to work with you. It's an incredible honor to consider you a friend, and I look forward to continuing to have that relationship as we go forward. And 30 minutes is not long enough to give you your due, but I understand that's how you wanted it. So thank you again for having a chance to be here, and congratulations on 30 years. That's really terrific. So,
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate those kind words, and I think we all probably know there's a few battles that you and Peggy won together, but more that you guys were already aligned, and lives are different because of you both. So thanks for your tenacity, Peggy, and thanks for knowing when to let Peggy lead, Dave. I think that's great. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Penny Townsend. Penny is the mom of Beth Townsend, who lives in one of our Monarch group homes, Lafayette group homes. And Penny was one of the first family members who interviewed Peggy when she applied for the executive director position of the ARC of Stanley County and ARC Services. Penny, if you'll share with us your thoughts about our friend, our leader, our coach, maybe our mom, our wife, our sister, Peggy. Go ahead, Penny.
Hi to Peggy Terhune, and hi to everyone that's joined us across the state, especially the family members. And we want to celebrate for the 30 years of outstanding service of Peggy. I am Penny Townsend, and I was probably one of Peggy's first friends because I was on the Arc of Stanley board of directors when we voted her in to be executive director. So it was exciting times when we got her to be the executive director. We never saw the women on the board before as a executive director, and we were excited. And little did we know that this woman, Peggy Terhune, was going to change our world. She changed our world in things like Monarch ARC came Monarch, and the services changed from leaps and bounds, and she met all the needs and services of people that we had. The family's needs were desperate, and she got the family's needs under control. I would like to speak for the families and tell Peggy that a way to make things happen. Peggy can make things happen. She doesn't ever say never. She doesn't have the word no in her vocabulary. She can always she always thinks things happen. And she made the things come across the families that never could happen before. On a personal note, My husband and I have a daughter with special needs. My daughter has Prader-Willi syndrome, and she needs a very specialized group home. Well, I worked for years trying to make the people of North Carolina, in Raleigh, etc., work with a group home for Beth and the people with Prader-Willi syndrome. But they never would come across. They would all say, "We can't, we don't, we don't know how, we do not." I heard those words over and over again. I had so many doors shut. Then one day I thought, why don't I go down in Monarch and talk to Peggy Terhune? And that's what I did. And guess what? Peggy jumped on the bandwagon and she was right there with me. And we soon had a Prader-Willi group home. And then we had a second one in the state. And for Peggy's glory, we have to thank her for this thing. But then I want to speak to everyone attending this presentation and I want to present them to the brightest, kindest, and most resourceful person I've ever known. And that is who we're talking about, is Peggy Terhune. And speaking from the families, we would like to thank Peggy with all of our hearts, to the bottom of our hearts, for her dedication, hard work, and love. And that's thank you, Peggy.
And Penny, I think what I took from your comments was the quickest way to yes might be to tell Peggy Terhune no. I think that's what we've all learned. Tell her no and watch her succeed. And I think that's, Peggy, what you need to hear is that the resounding memory of your time at Monarch and what we expect in the future is a continuation of something you say to us all the time. Get to yes. Don't tell me no. Get to yes. And oftentimes you're saying that from a business perspective, but what I'm hearing today from Dave and from Penny, and what we're getting ready to hear from Jim Kelly, who's probably known you longer than most people on this call, that you do find a way to yes. And as Penny said, no is not in your vocabulary. Jim, I'd love to hear from you. So remember, you don't work for Peggy anymore. You retired, so you have nothing to lose. Tell us all the good stuff once you give her kudos. Jim, I'm going to kick it to you.
Right. Well, thanks, everybody. Penny and Dave, they were great comments, and I know Peggy really takes them to heart. So it's obviously a pleasure for me to talk about my boss, my mentor, and my friend for all these years. And if people on this call think that Peggy's been dynamic for the last 30 years, imagine what she was like 40 years ago. We're in Rochester, New York, and I'm working as an aide in a large day treatment program. I'm probably 6 years old. And all right, I was 30. And then walks this young occupational therapist, and her name was Peggy. And talk about dynamic. And Peggy, you remember this. It was probably 3 months before you were running that day treatment program. And not terribly long after that, before he became one of the top executives in the agency. And we were a large agency. And I sat there just sort of scratching my head. And then, as Bob knows, and you know, Peggy, after years of staying there, one wintry day in Rochester, New York, you tried to get into your driveway and could not. And that was about it. The decision was made then, according to Peg, that we're moving south. But it wasn't just her decision, obviously, and I'll tell you about more of that in a second. So of all places, she decides to land at this wonderful town in North Carolina called Albemarle, North Carolina, and work for this tiny organization called the Arc of Stanley and County. So Peggy, here you are 30 years later, and look at your body of work. Like Dave said, there's not enough adjectives to describe it. It's simply nothing short of remarkable. And I knew the first day I came down and started working for you that we're sitting in the directors meeting with Johanna and other directors, and you sort of said, this is what we're going to do. And I'm thinking, here we go again. And, 10 years later, now 30 years later into Monarch, what a remarkable achievement, how many people you've touched. And the reason you really moved down here, and as a person of faith, you and Bob will appreciate this, is that I think it was the Lord's hand. I think there's no other logical explanation. I think from the moment that little girl reached out to you, Peggy, when you were just a little girl, and she was in that caged crib when you're with your with your dad, walking through that institution, and she reached out and touched you, that the Lord also touched you, and off you went. So he's been guiding you guys. I can think of no other logical explanation for this remarkable success. And Dave hit it on the nose. It's a combination of your courage, because this has not been easy for you guys, and your brilliance, your perseverance. The list goes on. So we are all exceptionally proud of you, Peggy, for your incredible work. And not too terribly long ago, Monarch started this educational fund because they knew that education is near and dear to your heart. And I told you before, I heard the best line about you, and it came from one of your students. Peggy's, as most of you know, was a part-time professor. And one of her students went up to her one time and said, Dr. Terhune, you make me want to learn. And that sort of said it all to me, because all of us employees, partially out of fear sometimes, but mainly because we wanted to meet up to your expectations, which were phenomenal. So back to the educational comment. Monarch had started an educational plan and benefit for our staff. And now the people on this call, your benefactors, your friends, people that admire you so much and love you, have contributed over $35,000 to enhance that fund and come up with a name in your honor. And the new fund is called the Peggy S. Terhune Educational Fund. So we know that it's dear to your heart. It's a wonderful gift in your honor, and all your supporters are pouring in tributes and well wishes to you. And we have a tribute that Lori and her team has put together for you. Congratulations, Peggy, and my pleasure knowing you for all these years. Thank you.
We come now to a point in our celebration where, if you will, Peggy, I'm going to give you a few minutes to give any remarks that you may have, and then we'll continue with the celebration of you. Peggy?
So you assume I can talk now, right? After all that, I don't have enough words to say how incredible it is that you're all spending time with me tonight. I didn't want a big dance or party because it's really not about me. It's about all the people every day that put their lives on the line and work so hard to give people that are disenfranchised the life they should be allowed to have. And so it if I'm successful, it's not because of me. And Jim, you're 100% right. It's been a God thing for a long, long time. And as I am fond of saying, I can tell you which days I run the company and which days God runs the company. Definitely changes. I want to really thank Lori and my team for putting this together. I want to thank my husband because I could not do my job if he wasn't home holding down the fort. And I want to thank my kids because they're here. They're on this journey with me, and they've been on the journey with me. And gosh, I can remember when Terry had to run to West Stanley to get Josh to take him to the doctor because he had a tooth knocked out, and I was out of town. And what would I have done without Terry and my team? And when you guys wanted me to be somewhere and I was out of town or I couldn't do what I would have liked to have done, but you've hung in there and you've supported me. I can't thank you enough for all the help you've given me. And those of you that are on here that really don't have to be on here, guys, my pastor is on this call. And oh my gosh, is that just the most incredible gift? Some of you like Joanna Croft that I haven't seen, for a long time and really miss. And Jeff Gaskin, every day I wonder how many days is it now that your son has not seen the light of day or heard the voice of his mother telling him that she loves him. And I think about that all the time. Every one of you have affected my life. Every one of you have made me better. Every one of you have challenged me to get to yes. Dr. Latz, oh my gosh, we're always getting to yes. You'll come in and you'll say, but we gotta have, and what's the answer? Yes, we have to get to yes. Why do we have to get to yes? Because guys, this is what God wants. God wants us to take care of our neighbor. God wants us to love other people. God wants us to focus on this more than anything else. And I want to do what God wants us to do. And I won't preach at you. I didn't plan a sermon, aren't you lucky? Because it would have been about 18 minutes, right? Um, but I can't thank each of you enough. Penny, your comments, I remember walking into that YMCA with these people sitting there with these papers and they were going to ask me all these questions and I was shaking in my boots. I was so nervous. It's all been so incredible. And I thank you so much for naming this fund after me. Oh my gosh, I've never had anything named after me before. It's like, oh, this is so cool. Um, I just, I can't say enough thank yous.
Peggy, we can't thank you enough. And 30 minutes isn't adequate, but we listened. And this is what you wanted. And I know that the thanks and the congratulations will continue on. But the reason that the people on this call, all the many who couldn't be here, who gave financially, gave to that fund is because in perpetuity, people at Monarch will know how important it is to have an education, to get to yes, and never stop when it comes to making people we support in their lives better. I have to personally say thank you for taking a chance on me, not once, but twice. A young 24-year-old kid. I saw our team snuck a picture in there. We looked like babies in that picture in 2018, Peggy. Let's go back. but a young 24-year-old kid who you gave a chance to lead, who you challenged constantly, who you looked in the face and said, "Oh, you'll be here longer than 2 years. I know you will be." When I told you I'm here for 2 years, Peggy, and then I'm moving on to bigger and better things. You kept me challenged. And when I found that I needed more of a challenge, you said, "Go find it. Go elsewhere. Go grow." You stayed in touch with me constantly over those 4 years, and you coached me. You helped me get to yes. You helped me help my company when my new CEO, after 90 days of being with him, took his own life. You selflessly took my call. You sent therapists and you sent team members to take care of my new team, and you didn't have to. You continued to show me what it meant to get to yes, what it meant to be a selfless servant leader. And for that, my own personal story is why many of us are here to celebrate you. Now, Peggy, you've been the compass for many of us. You've been the cheerleader. You've been the strategist. You've had grit, a lot of grace, a lot of grace. You've had vision. You've taken 30 years of turning challenges and no's into opportunity. And so today we're here to toast to you. I want everybody, if you will, to grab your favorite drink and let's toast to our friend and our leader, Peggy Terhune, for 30 years of excellence and the many more adventures ahead. Peggy, cheers.
Congratulations, Peggy.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Peggy.
Congratulations, Peggy.
Congratulations.
Proud of you.
Thanks for being an amazing child of God, Peggy. See you soon.
Congratulations, Peggy.
Congratulations, honey.
Quite a journey, Peg. Congratulations.